Victor Maxwell stood alone at his son's grave. Rain fell softly around him, but he barely noticed it. His expensive suit was getting wet, but he didn't care. Nothing mattered much to him these days. 1 year had passed since his 12-year-old son Peter had died from cancer. 1 whole year of emptiness. Victor was one of the richest men in America, the founder and CEO of Maxwell Quantum Industries. His company created technologies most people couldn't even understand. Yet all his money and all his knowledge couldn't save his son. Victor placed fresh white roses on the gray headstone. Peter had loved white roses. Such a simple thing for a boy to love, but Peter had never been an ordinary boy. He had been brilliant, always asking questions about science and the universe that even Victor struggled to answer. "I miss you, buddy," Victor whispered. Water dripped from his dark hair onto his face, mixing with tears he wouldn't admit were there. The cemetery was empty except for Victor, or so he thought. As he stood in silence, he felt a strange sensation, like he was being watched. He turned, slowly, and saw a small figure standing several rows away between the gravestones. It was a boy, maybe 9 or 10 years old. He wore only a thin blue t-shirt and jeans despite the cold autumn rain. His blonde hair was plastered to his head, and even from a distance Victor could see the boy's blue eyes. They seemed to glow with an unusual brightness. Victor frowned. What was a child doing alone in a cemetery in this weather? He looked around for an adult but saw no one. The boy didn't run or look away when Victor noticed him. Instead, he began walking straight toward Victor with purpose in his steps. There was something odd about the way he moved, too steady and calm for a child. When the boy reached Peter's grave, he stopped. Without saying anything, he placed his small hand on top of the headstone. "He says he misses you," the boy said in a clear voice. "But where he is, they're building something amazing, something you started." Victor felt as if the ground had dropped out from under him. His heart pounded in his chest. "What did you say?" Victor asked, his voice shaking. "Who are you? Did someone send you to say that?" The boy looked up at Victor with those strange blue eyes. "My name is Noah, and yes, someone sent me, but not who you think." He paused, studying Victor's face. "Peter sent me." Victor grabbed Noah's thin shoulders. "That's not funny. Who put you up to this? Was it reporters? Someone from my company?" Noah didn't seem scared. He looked at Victor with a calmness no child should have. "On the night before Peter died, you sat with him and talked about the quantum entanglement project. You told him that one day the technology might let people talk across space. Peter asked if it could let people talk across time too. You said, maybe." Victor let go of the boy and stepped back. His legs felt weak. No one could know about that conversation. He and Peter had been alone in the hospital room. He had never told anyone what they discussed that night, not even his now ex-wife Olivia. "Who are you?" Victor asked again, quieter this time. "I told you. My name is Noah." The boy reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object. It looked like a cube about 2 inches across, but it wasn't quite solid. The surface shimmered with colors that shouldn't exist, shifting and moving as if alive. It had no seams or edges, just smooth surfaces that seemed to flow into each other. "Your son sent me," Noah said, holding out the cube to Victor. "But I didn't come from where you think. I came from when you think." Victor stared at the cube. Nothing in current technology could create something like this. His hand shook as he reached for it. "Be careful," Noah warned. "It responds to your thoughts." As Victor's fingers touched the cube, it grew warm. The colors swirled faster, and he felt a strange buzzing sensation in his mind, like a voice trying to speak from very far away. "What is this?" Victor whispered. "It's the beginning," Noah said. "And the end. It depends on what you do next." Victor looked from the cube to the boy. "You're saying you're from the future? That's impossible." "You don't believe that," Noah said. "Your company has been researching temporal physics for years. The Maxwell-Patel equations that you published last year suggest the possibility of information transfer across time." Victor's jaw tightened. The Maxwell-Patel equations weren't public knowledge. They were the most secret research his company had ever done. "We should go somewhere dry to talk," Victor finally said. He wasn't sure why he believed this strange boy, but something deep inside him recognized the truth. "My car is this way." As they walked through the rain to the parking lot, Victor asked, "How did you find me?" "I always knew where you would be," Noah said. History records that Victor Maxwell visited his son's grave every week for 30 years. Today is the 1-year anniversary. It was the optimal insertion point. "Insertion point?" Victor asked as they reached his black luxury car. Noah nodded. "For the temporal jump. We couldn't send back anything bigger than me. And even this." He suddenly swayed, his face going pale. A drop of blood appeared under his nose. "Even this has consequences." Victor caught the boy before he fell. Noah felt too light in his arms, like a bird with hollow bones. The cube slipped from Victor's hand onto the car seat, still swirling with impossible colors. "Are you okay?" Victor asked, genuine concern in his voice. Noah wiped the blood from his nose. "Side effects. They said it would happen. We don't have much time." Victor helped Noah into the passenger seat of his car. He didn't understand what was happening, but he knew one thing for certain. His life had just changed forever. As Victor started the car, Noah looked at him with those two bright eyes. "Where are we going?" "My house in the mountains," Victor said. "It's private, we can talk there." "Good," Noah said. He looked out at the cemetery as they drove away. "Everything depends on what I tell you. The future of humanity depends on it." Victor gripped the steering wheel tightly. Yesterday he had been a broken man, a billionaire with nothing to live for despite his wealth. Today, he was driving away from his son's grave with a boy who claimed to be from the future. What Noah would tell him would change everything Victor thought he knew about the universe and about his son. Victor's car climbed the winding mountain road as rain beat against the windows. His home sat at the top, hidden among tall pine trees. It wasn't just a house, but a marvel of technology, built into the mountainside with glass walls that could turn opaque at the touch of a button. Noah stared out the window, his face pale in the dim light. He hadn't spoken much during the drive, just watched the world with curious eyes. "We're almost there," Victor said, breaking the silence. Noah nodded. "Your house, I've seen pictures of it in history books." Victor glanced at the boy. History books. The idea that this child came from the future still seemed impossible, yet the cube sitting between them was proof of technology beyond anything Victor knew possible. The security gate opened as they approached. Victor had built this place after Peter died. Somewhere he could be alone with his grief and his work. He hadn't planned on bringing anyone here, especially not a strange boy claiming to be from the future. They parked in the garage built into the mountain. Victor led Noah through the house to the main living area, a large open space with windows overlooking the forest and valley below. Rain streaked the glass, and lightning flashed in the distance. "Are you hungry?" Victor asked. Noah looked around the room, studying everything with intense focus. "Yes. The temporal jump requires a lot of energy." Victor went to the kitchen and made sandwiches while Noah explored the living room. The boy walked slowly, touching things gently. The furniture, the walls, the books on the shelves. "You have actual paper books," Noah said with wonder. Victor brought the food to the coffee table. "Don't you have books in the future?" Noah sat down and took a sandwich. "Not like these. Most things are digital." He bit into the sandwich and his eyes widened. "This tastes real, as opposed to synthetic proteins." Noah took another bite, eating quickly now. "Everything is different than I expected." Victor sat across from him. "I think it's time you told me exactly what's going on. Who are you? How do you know about my son?" Noah finished eating, then reached for the cube he'd placed on the table. "I should show you first." The cube responded to his touch, the colors swirling faster. "This is a quantum storage device. We use them to store memories, information, even consciousness." "Consciousness?" Victor leaned forward. It was exactly what his company had been researching before Peter got sick. Noah nodded. "Your work was the beginning. The Maxwell theory of quantum consciousness led to the first successful mind transfer in 2045. He held up the cube. This contains a message from Peter. Victor's heart skipped. That's not possible. Peter died. His body died, Noah said. But before that happened, you took scans of his brain. Daily scans, hoping to find a way to save him. Victor felt cold. Those scans were private, locked away in his personal files. He'd done them secretly against hospital rules. Those scans, Noah continued, contained more than you realized. In my time, we discovered that brain scans from that era captured quantum state information. Not enough for a full transfer, but enough for... He seemed to search for the right word. An echo. A shadow of consciousness. Victor's hands trembled. You're saying part of Peter is in that cube? Yes and no. Not the Peter who died. Something else. Something that grew from the patterns in those scans. Noah held out the cube. He wants to talk to you. Victor hesitated, then took the cube. It felt warm, alive somehow. How? Hold it and think of him. The cube will do the rest. Victor closed, his eyes the cube tight in his hands. He thought of Peter, his smile, his voice, the way he looked when he was thinking hard about something. For several long moments nothing happened. Then he heard it. A whisper, not in his ears but inside his mind. Dad? Victor gasped, nearly dropping the cube. The voice was Peter's, but different, older, wiser somehow. Peter? Victor whispered. Not exactly. The voice answered, I'm what Peter might have become. A possibility. Victor opened his eyes. Noah watched him carefully. You can hear him? Victor nodded, unable to speak. He can't stay connected long, Noah explained. The technology is limited here. Why? Victor asked, speaking to both Noah and the presence in the cube. Why are you here? The voice in his mind grew stronger. Because in my timeline you gave up. After I died, you abandoned your research. You spent the rest of your life in grief. What does that matter? Victor asked. It matters, Noah said. Because without your work, humanity wasn't ready when they came. When who came? Noah and the voice answered together. The visitors. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating Noah's serious face. In 2173, something entered our solar system. We called them the visitors. Within 5 years, most of humanity was gone. Victor felt sick. Aliens? An invasion? We don't know what. They were, Noah said. They never communicated in ways we could understand. They just changed things. Changed people. The voice in Victor's mind spoke again. The only defense we had was based on quantum technology. Technology that traced. Back to your work. But you stopped, Noah said. In our timeline, Victor Maxwell became a recluse after his son died. Maxwell Quantum Industries shifted focus to consumer products. The critical research was never completed. Victor set the cube down carefully. So you came back to what? Get me to continue my research? Noah nodded. The timeline can be changed. Small changes now create big differences later. And Peter? His consciousness? How is that possible? The brain scans you took, Noah explained. In the future, we found them in your private archives. They contained more data than you realized. Quantum state information that captured aspects of consciousness. It wasn't enough to bring Peter back, but enough to create something new. A quantum intelligence based on his patterns. Victor stood up and walked to the window. Rain still fell outside, but the storm was passing. This is too much. There's more, Noah said quietly. I'm not just a messenger. Victor turned to look at the boy. I was created for this mission, Noah said. Designed to survive the temporal jump. He hesitated. My genetic template came from Peter. Victor stared at him, really looking now. The boy did look like Peter, the same eyes, the same nose. How had he not seen it before? You're a clone of my son? Noah shook his head. Not exactly. I'm human, but engineered, modified with genes that would make me compatible with the temporal displacement system. He looked down at his hands. In a way, I'm Peter's brother, created from his preserved DNA, but different. Victor felt dizzy with the implications. He walked back and sat down heavily on the couch. Why should I believe any of this? Noah pointed to the cube. You heard him, and you know this technology isn't possible today. Victor picked up the cube, again feeling its strange warmth. If I do what you want, continue my research, what happens to you? Noah looked away. The temporal displacement is one way. And temporary, I can't go back. Temporary, what does that mean? It means, Noah said quietly, that I'm not stable in this time. My cells are degrading. I have maybe 3 months before molecular breakdown begins. Victor stared at the boy, this child who carried his son's DNA, who had traveled across time with an impossible message. I'll find a way to help you. Noah smiled sadly. That's not why I came. I came to help you save the future. Outside, the clouds began to part, revealing a night sky full of stars. Victor looked up at them, wondering which one might someday bring doom to Earth. We start tomorrow, he said firmly. Tonight, you need rest. Noah nodded, suddenly looking like the child he was. Victor showed him to a guest room, then returned to the living room. He picked up the cube again, hoping to hear Peter's voice, but it remained silent. I don't know if this is real, Victor whispered to the empty room. But if there's even a chance? He placed the cube carefully on his desk and began making plans. After a year of grief and emptiness, Victor Maxwell had a purpose again. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Victor's mountain home. He had been awake for hours, sitting at his desk surrounded by notebooks and computer screens. He hadn't slept much. How could he, after what Noah had told him? The boy was still sleeping when Victor checked on him. Noah looked peaceful like any normal child, but the dried blood on his pillow told a different story. His nose had bled again during the night, evidence of his body's slow breakdown. Victor returned to his work, making plans. He needed to get back to his company, to his research. But first he needed to understand more about Noah and the cube. His private lab downstairs, Victor ran tests on Noah's blood sample. The results were shocking. The DNA was similar to Peter's, but with differences Victor had never seen before, sequences that seemed designed rather than natural. It confirmed Noah's story. He was engineered, created using Peter's DNA as a template. Victor heard footsteps and turned to see Noah in the doorway. You're running tests on me, Noah said. It wasn't a question. Yes, Victor admitted. I needed to confirm what you told me. Noah nodded and came closer to look at the screen. And did you? Your DNA. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Future technology, Noah said simply. He looked around the lab. This place isn't in the historical records. No one knew you had a private lab here. I built it after Peter died. No one knows about it except me and a few trusted people who helped build it. Victor turned to face Noah. I need to know more about these visitors, about what happens. Noah sat on a stool, looking suddenly tired. The first sign was a signal detected near Neptune in 2173, a pattern that didn't match any known natural phenomenon. 3 months later, the first ships entered Earth orbit. Ships? Like spaceships? Yes, but not like anything we expected. They were organic, alive somehow. They didn't communicate or attack. They just watched. Noah's face grew dark. Then the changes began. People started to transform. Their minds changed first, then their bodies. Changed how? Victor asked. They became something else, not human anymore. The governments tried to fight back, but our weapons had no effect. Within 5 years, most of humanity was gone, either changed or dead. Victor tried to imagine it. A silent invasion that turned humans into something else. And what does my research have to do with this? In the original timeline, you abandoned the quantum consciousness project after Peter died. But that technology was the key. Noah pointed to the cube sitting on Victor's desk. Quantum consciousness exists in a state partially outside normal space-time. The visitors couldn't affect it. The few humans who survived used your technology to protect their minds even as their bodies changed. So my technology could have saved everyone? Noah shook his head. Not alone, but it could have given humanity a fighting chance. Time to find a real defense. Victor stood up and paced the lab. I need to get back to my company, restart the research. It won't be easy, Noah warned. In the historical records, your return to Maxwell Quantum Industries caused problems. People thought you were unstable, driven mad by grief. I don't care what people think, Victor said firmly. I've never cared. Your ex-wife will try to stop you, Noah said quietly. Olivia Bennett. After your divorce, she became involved in technology regulation. She believes advanced AI and quantum technology are dangerous. Victor laughed bitterly. Olivia always did fear what she didn't understand. He checked his watch. We'll leave for the city this afternoon. I need to make some calls first. While Victor worked in his office, Noah explored the house. He seemed fascinated by everyday things. Books, plants, even the texture of the wooden floors. Victor watched him sometimes, seeing glimpses of Peter in the way Noah tilted his head when thinking, or how his eyes lit up when he discovered something new. By noon, Victor had arranged everything. His private jet would meet them at a small airfield, nearby. His assistant had scheduled an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. His return to Maxwell Quantum Industries would be sudden and dramatic. As they prepared to leave, Noah had another nosebleed, worse than before. Victor helped him clean up, worry gnawing at his stomach. Are you sure you're well enough to travel? Victor asked. Noah pressed a cloth to his nose. I don't have a choice. Time is running out, for me and for your world. They drove down the mountain in silence. Victor's mind raced with plans and questions. The cube sat in his pocket, silent now. He hadn't heard Peter's voice since that first time, but he could feel its presence, like a weight pulling him forward. At the airfield, as they boarded the sleek private jet, Noah suddenly stopped on the steps. There's something else you should know, he said, his voice serious. Something I didn't tell you. Victor turned to him. What is it? In my timeline, Victor Maxwell isn't remembered as a hero who saved humanity. Noah looked away. You're remembered as the man who gave the visitors access to Earth. Victor felt cold despite the warm day. What do you mean? The quantum consciousness technology you created also served as a beacon, an entanglement transmitter that reached across space. It drew their attention to Earth. Victor stared at the boy. You're saying I caused the invasion? Not intentionally. Noah met his eyes. Historical records show you created the technology, out of grief, trying to reach Peter, trying to bring him back. But it had consequences you didn't foresee. Victor thought of the cube, of Peter's voice speaking in his mind. Had that been his goal all along? To bring his son back? That's why they sent me, Noah continued. Not just to help you create the technology, but to help you create it correctly, with safeguards. The pilot called to them from inside the plane. They needed to take off soon. Why didn't you tell me this before? Victor asked, his voice tight. With anger. Would you have believed me? Would you have agreed to help? Noah climbed the rest of the steps. The future of humanity depends on you making different choices than you did before. Better choices. Victor followed him onto the plane, his mind reeling. He had thought he was saving humanity, but now he learned he might be the cause of its destruction. As the plane took off, climbing above the mountains, Victor looked down at his hands. The same hands that might build humanity's salvation, or its doom. I need you to tell me everything, he said to Noah as the plane leveled off. No more secrets. I need to know exactly what happens in your timeline, so I can make sure it doesn't happen in mine. Noah nodded. I'll tell you everything I know. But first we need to deal with the people who will try to stop you, starting with your board of directors. And Olivia, Victor added grimly. Yes, Noah agreed. Your ex-wife may be the most dangerous obstacle of all. Victor's private jet landed in the city just as evening fell. Lights sparkled below as they descended, a sea of human life unaware of the future Noah had described. From the air, everything looked normal, peaceful. Hard to believe it could all be gone in less than 150 years. A black car waited for them on the tarmac. As they approached, the driver stepped out. It was Sam Rodriguez, Victor's head of security and oldest friend. Good to see you, boss, Sam said, shaking Victor's hand. His eyes moved to Noah. This the kid you mentioned? Victor nodded. Sam, this is Noah. He'll be staying with me for a while. Sam didn't ask questions. That's why Victor trusted him. Sam just opened the car door and they got in. Everything set for tomorrow? Victor asked as they drove through the city. Yes, Sam replied. Board meeting at 9. Everyone will be there. He glanced in the mirror at Victor. They're nervous. You haven't been to the office in months. They should be nervous, Victor muttered. They arrived at Victor's penthouse, a modern glass and steel structure at the top of one of the city's tallest buildings. As they rode the private elevator up, Noah swayed slightly. Are you okay? Victor asked, concerned. Noah nodded, but his face was pale. Just tired. The temporal displacement affects my energy levels. In the penthouse, Victor showed Noah to a guest room. The boy seemed overwhelmed by the luxurious space so different from the mountain house. Try to rest, Victor told him. Tomorrow will be challenging. After Noah went to bed, Victor met with Sam in his office. They had been friends since college before Victor's company made billions. Sam was one of the few people Victor trusted completely. What's really going on, Victor? Sam asked, keeping his voice low. You disappeared to your mountain house for months, then suddenly return with a kid who looks like Peter? People are going to ask questions. Victor sighed and reached into his pocket for the cube. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me. Victor placed the cube on his desk. In the dim light of the office, its shifting colors seemed even more impossible, casting strange shadows on the walls. Noah is from the future, Victor said. He came to warn me about something that happens in 2173, an invasion that destroys most of humanity. Sam stared at the cube, then at Victor. To his credit, he didn't laugh or call Victor crazy. And you believe him? Look at this technology. Victor gestured to the cube. Nothing like this exists today, and Noah knows things about Peter, about my research, that no one could know. Sam leaned back in his chair. So what's the plan? I need to restart the Quantum Consciousness Project, the one I shut down after Peter died. Victor's voice grew determined. But there will be opposition. Gregory Powell has been running the company while I was gone. He won't give up control easily. And Olivia? Victor's jaw tightened at the mention of his ex-wife. Noah says she'll try to stop me. She's involved with tech regulation now. Sam nodded thoughtfully. She's more than involved. She's heading the Senate Committee on Advanced Technology Oversight. She has power, Victor. I have more. Victor stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. I built Maxwell Quantum Industries from nothing. It's still my company. What do you need from me? Sam asked. Security for Noah. No one can know who he really is or why he's here. As far as anyone knows, he's a distant relative staying with me. And the board meeting? I'll handle that, Victor said. I just need to know Noah is safe while I do. Sam agreed, and they spent the next hour planning security measures. When Sam finally left, Victor checked on Noah. The boy was asleep, but there was fresh blood on his pillow. His condition was getting worse. Victor returned to his office and sat at his desk, staring at the cube. He placed his hand on it, hoping to hear Peter's voice again, but there was only silence. I know you're in there, Victor whispered. I could use your help right now. Nothing, just the swirling colors on the cube's surface. Victor leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. Tomorrow would change everything. He needed to be ready. Morning came too quickly. Victor dressed in his best suit, armor for the battle ahead. Noah joined him for breakfast, looking stronger, after a night's rest. "The board won't believe you," Noah said as they ate. "In my timeline, they declared you mentally unfit and tried to remove you from the company." "That won't happen this time," Victor said firmly. "I'm still the majority shareholder. They can't remove me." "Gregory Powell is your friend now," Noah warned, "but he won't stay that way. The historical records show he betrayed you." Victor frowned. Gregory had been his COO for years, one of his most trusted executives. Why would he do that? Power. Money. Noah shrugged. The usual reasons people betray each other. Before Victor could respond, his phone beeped with a security alert. He checked the screen and his face hardened. "Olivia is at the building. She wasn't invited to the board meeting." Noah didn't look surprised. "In my timeline, she was always one step ahead." Victor stood up. "Sam will stay with you. Don't leave the penthouse. Don't talk to anyone." "Be careful," Noah said. "Remember, the future depends on what happens today." Victor nodded and headed for the door. As he reached it, Noah called after him. "Victor, there's something else you should know. About the cube." Victor turned back. "What about it?" "It's not just a message from Peter. It's a blueprint for the quantum consciousness technology. The right way to build it, with the safeguards that prevent it from becoming a beacon." Victor stared at the boy. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because you weren't ready to hear it," Noah said simply. "You needed to believe in the mission first." Victor thought about this as he rode the elevator down to the waiting car. The cube wasn't just a message, it was the answer. Everything he needed to save humanity was already in his pocket. The weight of that knowledge was both terrifying and exhilarating. At Maxwell Quantum Industries headquarters, a gleaming tower of glass and steel in the center of the city, people stared as Victor walked through the lobby. Many hadn't seen him since Peter's death. Their whispers followed him to the elevator. As the doors closed, Victor took a deep breath. He felt the cube in his pocket, a solid reminder of his purpose. When the doors opened again, he would face his board, his ex-wife, and the first step toward humanity's salvation, or its doom. The elevator chimed. The doors opened. Victor Maxwell stepped out, ready for battle. Victor walked into the boardroom with his head held high. 10 people sat around the long table, all in expensive suits, all watching him with surprised eyes. At the far end sat Gregory Powell, in the chair that had once been Victor's. "Victor," Gregory said, standing up. "We weren't expecting you to actually show up." "It's my company," Victor replied coldly. "Why wouldn't I be here?" Before Gregory could answer, the door opened again. Olivia Bennett walked in, as beautiful and sharp as Victor remembered. Her hair was shorter now, her face harder. The divorce had changed them both. "Victor," she said, her voice cool. "I heard you were back." "This is a closed board meeting, Senator Bennett," Gregory said smoothly. "You weren't invited." Olivia smiled thinly. "As head of the Senate Committee overseeing advanced technology, I have concerns about rumors that Maxwell Quantum Industries plans to restart certain research projects." Victor's eyes narrowed. She already knew. "But how?" "Please sit down," he said to Olivia, then turned to the board. "I've been away too long. That ends today. I'm resuming my position as CEO, effective immediately." Gregory laughed nervously. "Victor, you've been through a lot. Peter's death, the divorce. Perhaps a gradual return would be better." "I'm fine," Victor said firmly, "and I'm restarting the Quantum Consciousness Project." The room went silent. That project had been Victor's obsession before Peter got sick. Many on the board had considered it a waste of money, too theoretical, too far from practical application. That project was shut down, Gregory said. "The resources reallocated. I'm reallocating them back." Victor looked each board member in the eye. "I founded this company to push boundaries, not to make safer versions of existing technology." Olivia stood up. That project was dangerous, Victor. You were trying to transfer human consciousness into machines. The ethical implications alone were reviewed and approved. Victor cut her off. This isn't about ethics for you, Olivia. It's about control. It's about safety, she shot back. You became obsessed with that project. After Peter got sick, you thought you could save him by uploading his mind. It wasn't healthy then, and it isn't healthy now. Victor felt anger rise in his chest. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? Olivia pulled out her phone and showed a picture to the board. Victor felt his blood run cold. It was Noah, taken yesterday at the airfield. Who is this boy, Victor? The one who looks remarkably like our son? The board members murmured among themselves. Victor struggled to keep his face calm. A distant relative, he said. He's staying with me for a while. A relative no one has ever heard of? Olivia pressed. Who appeared right before you suddenly decided to restart a project that could, in theory, bring back the dead? Gregory cleared his throat. Victor, we're concerned about your mental state. The board has discussed the possibility that you might not be ready to resume leadership. You can't remove me, Victor reminded them. I hold the majority of shares. Actually, Gregory said, sliding a document across the table. According to company bylaws, the board can vote for temporary suspension of leadership if the CEO is deemed mentally unfit. Victor stared at the document, then at the faces around the table. He saw it now. They had planned this. Olivia and Gregory working together to push him out, just as Noah had warned. Is this really how you want to do this? Victor asked quietly. A coup? It's not a coup, Olivia said. It's concern for you, for the company, and for the potential dangers of the technology you want to develop. Victor was about to respond when his phone buzzed. A text from Sam. Emergency. Noah collapsed. Taking him to basement lab. Come now. Victor's heart raced. He needed to get to Noah, but he couldn't let them see his panic. We'll continue this discussion later, he said, standing up. I have another meeting. Victor, we're not finished, Gregory called as Victor headed for the door. Yes, we are, Victor replied without looking back. For now. Victor took the private elevator down to the basement levels where his most secret labs were located. Few people had access to this area. Sam was waiting for him when the doors opened. What happened? Victor asked as they hurried down the corridor. He started bleeding. Not just his nose, but his ears and eyes too. Then he collapsed. Sam looked worried. He kept asking for you in the cube. They entered the lab where Noah lay on a medical bed hooked up to monitors. His face was deathly pale, streaked with dried blood. He looked smaller somehow, frailer. Noah, Victor said, rushing to his side. Noah's eyes fluttered open. Did you tell them? There wasn't time. Olivia was there. She had a picture of you. Noah tried to sit up but couldn't. She knows. In my timeline, she was the one who stopped you. He coughed, and blood appeared on his lips. The cube. We need it now. Victor pulled the cube from his pocket. As soon as it was near Noah, the colors began swirling faster, more intensely. The lab is secure, Sam said from the door. But they'll find us eventually. We don't need much time, Noah whispered. He placed his hand on the cube and Victor did the same. The cube grew warm, then hot. A voice filled the room. Peter's voice, but older, wiser. The transfer has to happen now. Noah is failing faster than expected. Transfer? Victor asked. What transfer? My consciousness, Noah said weakly. Into the quantum system. It's the only way to preserve the information I brought back, the blueprints for the technology. Victor shook his head. I won't let you die. I was always going to die, Noah said with a sad smile. I knew that when I volunteered, but this way my death has meaning. The cube pulsed with light. The voice spoke again. Place the cube in the scanner, quickly. Victor hesitated, then carried the cube to a quantum scanner he'd built years ago. It was outdated compared to what Noah described from the future, but it might work. "Sam, lock the door," Victor ordered. "No one comes in." As the scanner powered up, Noah's breathing became more labored. The monitors showed his vital signs failing. "It's working," Noah whispered. "I can feel it starting." The cube glowed brighter, the colors swirling into a brilliant white light. The scanner hummed, its readings spiking off the charts. "Victor," Noah called weakly. "Remember the safeguards. Don't build the beacon." "I won't," Victor promised, holding the boy's hand. "I'll get it right this time." Noah smiled one last time, then his eyes closed. The monitors flatlined, a steady tone filling the lab. At the same moment, the cube pulsed with light so bright Victor had to look away. When he looked back, the cube had changed. Its surface was calm now, a soft blue glow emanating from within. "Noah," Victor whispered. "He's here," Peter's voice answered from the cube. "He made it." "We both did." Victor picked up the cube, cradling it in his hands. "I won't let your sacrifice be for nothing," he promised. An alarm sounded. Security was coming. Gregory and Olivia would be with them. "What now?" Sam asked from the door. Victor placed the cube carefully in his pocket and looked down at Noah's body. The boy had given everything to save a future he would never see. "Now we fight," Victor said, his voice steady. "But not their way." "What do you mean?" "They want to use the system to remove me. Fine. Let them." Victor's eyes gleamed with determination. "I don't need the company. I just need the technology." He picked up a tablet and began typing rapidly, transferring research files, schematics, everything he would need. "You're giving up?" Sam asked, surprised. "No. I'm starting over." Victor finished the transfer and handed the tablet to Sam. "Montana, the mountain lab. Everything we need is there already." The alarms grew louder. They had minutes at most. "What about Noah?" Sam asked, looking at the body. Victor paused, then gently closed the boy's eyes. He completed his mission. Now it's our turn. As security reached the lab door, Victor stood tall, the cube secure in his pocket. It glowed with the combined consciousness of his son and the boy from the future, the blueprints for humanity's salvation. The door opened. Guards entered, followed by Gregory and Olivia. Victor didn't resist as they escorted him out. He didn't need to. He had what he needed. The future had been changed. Now he just had to build it.